Good morning, everyone. My name is Macy Duplessis. I am the Marketing and Communications Coordinator here at SUSTA, and we want to welcome you guys to Exploring El Salvador Market Trends and Opportunities. Today, we have with us some amazing speakers. We have our in-country consultants for many years, Strategos. They are here to go ahead and give you guys some insight, as well as FAS from San Salvador and I cannot say the other place, but we do have members from FAS here to give you guys an amazing presentation and just reminding everyone that this is being recorded and I will upload the recording of this webinar to our YouTube channel as well as to the back office. So you guys can go back and watch this webinar as well as the PDF presentation that we will be presented during the webinar. So, and more information with the outbound trade mission that's associated with this webinar as well. So I will definitely send out an email around lunch today, letting you guys know that everything has been uploaded, as well as the links to access everything. So please hold questions and answers. You guys are welcome to pop them into the Q&A chat. We will do a Q&A portion after the presentation. So if you have any questions throughout, feel free to drop it in the chat and we will get to it later on in the webinar. So thank you guys again for joining and we look forward to an amazing webinar. So we'll hand it over to Brad.
Thank you, Macy, very much. Good morning, everybody, and welcome. Thank you for being with us today, receiving this information that we're going to be sharing on this outbound trade mission that SUSTA is organizing. We're going to be going to El Salvador, but we are going to be inviting also buyers, importers from Honduras. So today, as Macy mentioned, we have FAS present here. So we are going to be receiving a presentation with information on both countries. And I would like to introduce Marcela Rondon, who is the agricultural counselor. She is stationed in Guatemala, but she is responsible for overseeing Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, and Belize. And with her, there is a very professional group of colleagues that also work for FAS, and they are stationed in each of those countries. So Marcela is a career Foreign Service officer serving as the Ag Counselor at the Office of Agricultural Affairs in Guatemala City. As I mentioned, her regional responsibilities cover El Salvador, Honduras, and Belize too. As the Secretary of Agriculture's representative and the senior USDA official in country, Marcela has the responsibility to provide direction and oversight to all foreign agricultural services programs and to provide support and counsel to other USDA agencies. So let's take advantage of all this knowledge that she's going to be sharing with us today. So with further ado, Marcela, welcome and good morning.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for having me share some information that might be helpful for you when you're looking at both El Salvador and Honduras as potential markets. Probably some of the companies have already have some transactions being done with El Salvador importers, El Salvador Honduras importers. So just wanted to make sure that also you have a bit of that additional information that you're probably going to be able to find on your own. I think one of the key strengths of our agency is to being able to provide market intelligence, which you could also find in our on our reporting, public reports that you can find on the GAIN system. So you just Google GAIN FAS USDA, and all of the database will pop up on your screen. So you'll be able to find those reports that might actually help you get the very details on how to export if you are the first time exporter to either El Salvador or Honduras. As as Frederline shared, I am based out of Guatemala City, Embassy, Guatemala, by my coverage, and I have staff, our colleagues, highly professional agricultural specialists and marketing specialists on this call today from El Salvador and Honduras. So with that, I'm going to start off sharing my screen so that you can have a little bit of that very interesting piece of information. We'll do it here. 1 second. All right. And we go to from the beginning. I think this is where I go here. Am I on the
You can press from the beginning and
yeah, and I will go. Okay. All right. So
press, yeah.
is this good? Okay. All right. So as I said, we're based out of Guatemala City. FAS is the Foreign Agricultural Service. Our mission is to promote U.S. agricultural products, and we do that through four different pillars. One of them is trade policy, market development, as well as capacity building and trade capacity building, and we'll talk a little bit about that towards the end. But our role, our mandate, is to promote U.S. ag exports in the regions where we're located. We have about 100 offices overseas. With that, we mostly regional offices, and this one, Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, and Belize is one. We have one other. My deputy, his name is Jason Grobel, also serving in a regional capacity. And two local staff, marketing and agricultural specialists in Honduras, marketing and agricultural specialists in El Salvador, and I have four locally employed staff here in Guatemala. So we'll start with El Salvador and Honduras. You probably are familiar with President Bukele. He's very popular, very famous. The whole world knows about it. Why? Because he's made a lot of very very impressive strides into the security of El Salvador. He took office in January. His domestic agenda up to this past year was focused on anti-corruption, security, and social justice. More recently, he has made a commitment to, now that he's got the security component out of the way very successfully, he's focusing on education and health, and also improving the economic incomes of the population of El Salvador. On the foreign policy side, development cooperation, regional integration, very focused on aligning with the United States. He was in Washington a lot, and a couple of weeks ago, he was also in Mar-a-Lago with President Trump. So he's one of President Trump's friends. He's very closely aligned with the overall U.S. Government priorities at the moment, and he's working very closely also with the international organizations, very closely, and very supportive of all of our programming as well. So we're very fortunate to have such a great relationship at the embassy level, at the agency level, with our colleagues Elvi Hueso and Miguel Herrera, being very closely aligned and working towards advancing our priorities in El Salvador, along with our colleagues from the U.S. Embassy in El Salvador. Next. So, government of Honduras. This is President Nasri Asfura. He's also he was recently elected. He's also very closely wants to be closely aligned with our President Trump's agenda. He's prioritizing job creation, security, health, and education. We already engage as USDA with the new administration. There he became president on January 27th, but our colleagues, Juan Carlos, who's going to be on the panel later on as well, We already had our first meeting with the Minister of Agriculture, Minister Molina, Secretary of Agriculture Molina. We're working also with the regulatory authorities and continue to work since the prior administration with advancing trade facilitation and via our and regulatory strengthening via our Atraxi program. It's one of our Food for Progress programs that it hasn't stopped since it was actually 2022 when that program was authorized to operate. So we continue to work towards those goals, objectives of the Food for Progress program via our Atraxi project. And we'll talk a little bit about that at the end as well. Foreign policy, he's emphasizing cooperation with the United States, which is a new very welcome attitude. And we with these meetings we had at the government with the government of Honduras so far, they've been very welcome and open arms and thankful for all of the work that they've been able to advance already due to the American people's programs and implementation in Honduras. So we're very fortunate to also have this relationship with the new government of Honduras. So the economy in a glance here for El Salvador, it's, as you know, El Salvador is a very, very small country, on 6.4 million people. In Honduras, it's an 11 million person market. The average age is between 26 and 28, so it's pretty young population. And it's because of that, it's the attitudes towards U.S. products is even becoming more and more welcome. The GDP for El Salvador is $37.98 billion. For Honduras, $40.82 billion. Again, these are economies that are is still in that realm of like under 50 billion. Comparing to Guatemala, which is three times the size of the GDP. It's very interesting, despite the fact that the economy is not as large as Guatemala, but there's a lot of like diversity of products and interest in having even more diversity of products into their supermarkets and also through their processing channels. So we'll talk about that in a little bit as well. Generation Z is the dominant generation, representing 35% of the population in both countries. So I mentioned trade facilitation. This is one of the key areas that we're working with the three governments, with Guatemala, El Salvador, and Honduras. As you know, they're very closely aligned culturally, but also the taste for foods are becoming more U.S. products are being demanded, and again, diversity of those products are what's actually driving, the growth in these markets. So, the important support and government engagement, we provide support to importers by coordinating with local authorities to resolve issues. This is like the backbone of what we do in FAS, working very closely with the government authorities when issues come up, and then making sure that we resolve issues expeditiously so that our importers don't have a lot of like costs that are unnecessary or burdensome regulations that are actually challenges for them later on. As common import challenges for both countries, we have records, port inspections, and valuation of goods. But the scope of our support is limited to food products of U.S. origin. So just make sure that that's what we focus on and make sure that there's no confusion with that. We only support U.S. origin products and companies that are actually importing products directly from the U.S. And timely issue resolution, we have record times in resolving these type of issues, but we also need to have a lot of information prior to reaching out to our counterparts in these governments, because they are very much interested in having all of the details and documents in one go, so that we can actually facilitate that resolution of those issues in a prompt manner. FAS reporting, as I mentioned earlier, we have many reports that are available online. Again, for first-time exporters, you have the FAS exporter guide by country. So I definitely highlight that. We also have on the regulation side the import requirements, the first report, that you have market segment reports. Again, and this is based on like how we see the sectors that are growing. We just recently published the food and ingredients report, I believe. So like this week, right, Ellie? Yeah, it was just published this past week. Um, and then you have a lot of our reports. I mean, they're accessible online, free, first-hand information reports. And then they also have a lot of the links to the government site, so that you can easily find what you're looking for. And if you're not able to find it, then we ask you to reach out to us, and our contact information is at the end. Again, each office will oversee the operation. We have excellent professionals that are also readily available to help and support advancing your interest in the markets. Okay, so for the trade numbers, very quickly, combined, we have $2.4 billion worth of exports to Honduras and El Salvador, 1.9 billion imports, right? And you'll see where those numbers come from in a second. The both We have a very good development over the last 20 years since CAFTA-DR was signed, implemented in the region. And they have tripled. Our exports have tripled since then. With the last 20 years of CAFTA-DR, there have been positive win-win situations. Again, those two countries, both El Salvador and Honduras, and more Honduras specifically, have actually their exports have grown as well. We have coffee from Honduras, and then we have multiple products also from El Salvador. We'll go into that in a second. So an interesting thing that's developing over the last 5 years, I would say, is the growth in consumer-oriented products. If you see the red bar and the blue bar for our most recent year, 2025, we have actually like reached like nearly the same amount of consumer-oriented products as in bulk products for both countries. So, and in adding Guatemala, it's the same. So we have about half of our exports to these markets. So these we call them it's the northern regional, northern triangle region for Guatemala, El Salvador, and Honduras. It's about half of the exports are actually consumer-oriented products. So what you find in the supermarkets, and for Belize, it's a little bit over 100 million. So just for awareness, there's a little market in Belize, and hoping that we can explore more of that market in next missions. But for now, just wanted to make sure that you understand that the consumer enterprise category has increased tremendously over the last 5 years. Consumer-oriented products are like our priority at the moment. We still have very good numbers with the bulk products, but we'll go into that now, into this, the breakout of like those consumer-oriented products and the bulk products for both Honduras and El Salvador. Just so to make sure that you're aware, the Honduras market is about $1.4 billion in 2025. We export about 1.4 billion, and in El Salvador we export about $830 million. So again, small market, but a lot of potential still because of the growth in the tourism sectors. Again, there's a lot of very good proposals for Honduras as well, in terms of developing not only the already non-touristy areas, but there's a lot of work that the new administration wants to focus on, and make and improve the quality of life of the people as well. So this is the breakout of the total ag exports. You see, for Salvador, corn, soybean meal, pork, cotton, and dairy products. Their dairy products are actually very much demanded. Cheeses and other products are on demand. We heard a lot about that during our Trump mission. And I forgot to mention earlier on, the Trump mission is trade mission that we conducted. Our Undersecretary of Agriculture, Foreign Agricultural Affairs, Undersecretary Lindbergh, led that delegation, Trump mission, to El Salvador and Guatemala last March, so only a few weeks ago. And we had a lot of interesting meetings. Dairy was actually the top the top product that not only our importers talked about, but the private sector was very eager in expanding and amplifying their providers. So dairy will be a key item for the next mission. Pork as well. It's a category that's growing, and for Honduras, we have pork and dairy. So pork and dairy are those two products, but there's multiple interests in other products, and I think that having these missions coming up will be very helpful, and will be able to making those connections, buyers and sellers, and showing the interest of the U.S. agricultural exporters to have those connections made, and by visiting, it's a great way to start those exports. Okay. Again, very quickly, the market access for El Salvador, how the products come in. You have the distribution channels, the key ports of entry. Again, a lot of this information is also included in our exporter guide. But very shortly, the importers are the first point of contact for U.S. products. Management of import permits and compliance with sanitary and technical regulations are also part of that. Wholesalers, supply and hotels, restaurants, retailers, the dominance of modern supply chains. We have super selectors, Walmart and PriceSmart in this market in El Salvador, and e-commerce is also becoming more and more a thing, and convenience stores in El Salvador, very modern. It's interesting. Actually, the how the expansion of supermarkets, and they're opening new supermarkets very frequently. Walmart and Super Selectos have expanded the number of stores, and again, it's very key to have in mind also that the locations might vary from, or the products might vary from location, but in general, they're very modern, state-of-the-art supermarkets in El Salvador. For El Salvador, you have Port of Acajutla, Puerto Cutuco, and the Land and Border and Air Cargo, which, a lot of land connections from Guatemala, Honduras, and so access to all of those markets as well. For Honduras, the primary gateway for U.S. is entering the Honduran markets. Importers are very important, and I think with your mission coming up in August, you'll be able to experience that, if not already. Again, a lot of connections can be done ahead of time as well. Experts in customs clearance and local regulatory compliance, very key to that. wholesale, logistics, support, and credit terms for local buyers, key intermediaries for the food service and hospitality sectors, wholesalers, and for retailers, again, supermercados La Colonia, which is the local supermarket, Walmart, Honduras, and PriceMart. So you see PriceMart, Walmart, in this, two markets, but also in Guatemala, they're the main ones. For Guatemala, the only difference on the local retailer would be La Torre, which is also very like an 80-year-old supermarket chain. For Puerto Cortes is our key port of entry. That's I think mainly where all of the products come through from the U.S. But Puerto Castilla, and you also have the land borders with Guatemala and El Salvador. CAFTA-DR went into effect in 2006, and by 2025, all of consumer-oriented industrial commodities are duty-free. U.S. exports have increased threefold, as mentioned before. Imports, again, 748 million to 1.9 million in 2025. You have competitors, yes, Mexico, Guatemala, and Costa Rica, and Chile. So after then we have the newly signed trade agreements or agreement on reciprocal trade for El Salvador only. At this point, it was signed on January 29, which basically helps have a little bit of more of a teeth right now to push for all of those non-tariff barriers that were included already in the CAFTA-DR. And so that tool is helping us, come and support even further the compliance of those commitments made by El Salvador, and they're fully committed to advance those, as well as in Guatemala. And Honduras will be hopefully our next country that in the region that signs the agreement. There are still negotiations going on that front, but hopefully we get those commitments as well. We do have very specific commitments that Honduras needs to comply by. Market opportunities and trends, again, same as everywhere in the world. Health, nutrition, organic, sustainability, and expanding taste for these are the key trends throughout this region, and so we're hoping that we can offer those products that actually meet those tastes and new acquired products to these two markets. I mentioned really quick our part of our three sort of main mission in order to promote U.S. ag exports, the programming that we also have for trade policy capacity building in these two countries. We have a regional trade capacity building program. It's called Food for Progress. This is a TRAXI program. And then the governmental Food for Education program, which has been going on for over 20 years. And we have active programs in both Honduras and El Salvador. We newly acquired administration of the Food for Peace program. Congress authorized this program earlier on, and then now we're about to implement it in El Salvador. It's a humanitarian program. All of the other programs under USDA flagship programs, My Government and Food for Progress. These two are they're non-humanitarian. They're development market development programs. And the last slide I have our beautiful embassy Guatemala here. We actually have a beautiful embassy Honduras too. So it's a new embassy as well. We're located again in Guatemala, but our offices both in El Salvador, Honduras. This contact information here is the main point of contact. Once we receive your email, then one of our colleagues from our section, the ag specialist or the marketing specialist, will be responding to those inquiries. But if you have any questions, also you can reach out to us with our first name, last name at USDA.gov. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We greatly appreciate it. That's great. If you guys have any questions, feel free to go ahead and pop those into the chat as we are moving into the Q&A portion of our webinar. So while we give people some time to go ahead and think of some questions or type them. Okay, here we have one. What kind of dairy are importers looking for? So either anyone can take that, panelist wise.
Yeah, Elvie. Elvie, and you can introduce yourself too.
Yes, good morning. My name is Elvi Hueso, and I'm the agricultural marketing specialist here in El Salvador. So as for dairy, we've seen the trend mainly for specialty gourmet type of cheeses at the supermarket level, you know, like Gouda, Emmental, all those kinds of cheeses that there are others, of course, Parmesan and all others that are used by the food service sector, but also consumers are looking for that. And at the industrial level, we know like there is a big yogurt manufacturing company called Lactosa. I mean, um, what is the name? Yes, that's actually YES. That's the name of the brand that is actually exporting to Central American countries already, some yogurt and other products. So they are ingredients importers for the US and have attended the IFT show in the US. We sponsor them to go, and companies like them are looking for ingredients. So there is potential to growth in both the retail and the manufacturing sectors.
We have another question. Are seeds included as part of the free trade agreement?
As part of the CAFTA deal or the reciprocity trade, the agreement on reciprocity?
No.
Miguel, can you talk a little bit about seeds?
Hello, can you hear me? So I have the video on, but it doesn't show. Yeah, so seeds, I don't know if they're included in the art agreement, but I believe under CAFTA they were included, so they should have no problem. At least to El Salvador, there is no problem for the seeds coming in.
I don't know, Juan Carlos. Can you talk a little bit about that on the Honduras side, on this
Yes,
on seeds?
yes, they're included under CAFTA. However, please make sure to include the necessary certifications for exporting seeds to Honduras. So we normally publish a FAIRS report, like Marcela indicated. So every year we publish all regulations that are must be met, and all certificates that are needed, like seeds in this case. They must accompany a specific certification. I believe is from an certifying authority, and you can find them in the FAIRS report in the USDA website.
Thank you. Any other questions? Or is there anything else that you guys would like to share? Anything that, you know, breezed over quickly through the presentation, or anything you'd like to add before we go into hearing more about the upcoming mission?
Yeah, yes, I like to just make sure that you for the participants of this mission, or if you have any questions that come up afterwards, our first thing to do is to make sure that you look at those reports. Again, we have a staff that go and verify, talk to importers, we talk to the government, and we capture all of that information. If there's any changes that as a result of whether the agreements on reciprocity trade for El Salvador, not for Honduras, because Honduras doesn't have one yet, um, but in general, if there are any changes that will impact your the trade or the impact exports from the U.S. to those markets, we normally will put them on the gain system and to alert the exporters. It's first-hand information, intel that probably cost thousands of dollars outside if we weren't actually be able to make it public, and it is public. So please take a look of those. And if you have any questions, as I mentioned earlier, we have staff ready available to support you. We do need to have very detailed information on what you need so that we can help out. But we'll be happy to also co-host or be at the mission. And with that, I'll let you take it over and let them know how it's going to be.
You can go ahead. And now we're going to hear some information about upcoming trade mission we have going on.
Right. Thank you very much, everybody. So, again, a lot of opportunities in both of these markets. We are going, as I mentioned at the beginning, we're going to have the event in El Salvador, but we are going to host importers from Honduras. So we should be arriving there on the 17th because on the 18th, which is going to be a Tuesday, we are going to meet again with FAS in the morning. We are going to have a briefing with additional information and also have the opportunity of more interaction, more questions. After that, we are going to head out and visit some stores. That will give you the opportunity to see what's on the shelf, compare, see prices, types of products, and everything else. And on the 19th, we are going to have the B2B meeting. So it's going to be a full day of B2B meetings with importers from El Salvador and Honduras. Depending on how many importers do sign up and also how many U.S. suppliers from the SUSTA region sign up, we might extend to the 20th for the B2B meetings. So that's also a possibility. So that will be in a nutshell the agenda for the event. Marcela was presented the import information on both countries. So there are a lot of opportunities. I would like to uh, uh, share that information again because we understand that it is very important for you to capture the opportunities in this market. So to give you an idea on El Salvador, in 2021, for consumer-oriented products, which is the category that involves us, it was only $251 million. But in 2025, 377. So there is a consistent growth and demand for U.S. product due to many reasons. The free trade agreement, logistics, proximity. The consumer is familiar with U.S. product, the quality, consistency. So that is a great opportunity. It is also worthwhile mentioning that El Salvador is a dollarized economy. So for the importer, the exchange rate risk is not there. Honduras is different, but Honduras has been very stable in the past couple of years. And Honduras has also demonstrated a great performance in imports of consumer-oriented products from the U.S. In 2021, it was $403 million. In 2025, $577 million. So again, great consistency in the growth. The demand is still there. Importers are looking for products from the US. So I encourage you to sign up for this mission. The sooner the better, so we can start working with you on the different aspects of the admin side and making sure that everybody is prepared for the activity. So please, again, it's going to be a great event, great opportunities in both markets, and you'll be having the support of us, and we'll also be working closely with FAS. So with that, unless somebody has come up with a question that might have come up, then we invite you to get on board and come with us to El Salvador for this wonderful event.
Yes, thank you so much. We're looking forward to it. I sent out, I believe I sent out an email this morning, but we will be sending out an email reminding y'all about this event, as well as a link to the recording of the webinar and everything that you need to know. So if anybody has any last questions, you guys can go ahead and pop them into the chat. But we will send out more information regarding the event as well as today's webinar. I don't think there's anything else. So with that, thank you guys so much for hopping on. We greatly appreciate all of our wonderful panelists. Thank you guys for the presentation. It was great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you guys for joining as well. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, we did it.
Yay. Thanks, guys. See y'all soon.
Bye.
Bye.